This song had an impression on me. It actually went back to an instant after I had a palsy radio nerve and I was no longer able to write. But a verse happened in my head from it that I wrote down in a book that I had at the time that had other stuff written in it, and a college book actually. I wrote it in the cover. My wife and I, after we got married, would go occasionally on a Friday night to a tavern that was owned by a friend of mine in Fells Point. The guy had an old photograph that he played all these old songs from the 30s, 40s, and 50s on, and most of them were like old country tunes. And this woman used to come in every Friday night, only on Friday nights, and she'd order one glass of wine and spend the rest of the night next to the jukebox waiting for somebody to put some money in so she could ask him to play A12. A12 was George Jones' number. I can't remember now what it was, but offhand I just remember it was George Jones. Anyway, every time somebody would come up here, she'd ask her to play A12, and she'd just dance. That's what she would say to anybody. She'd just dance all by herself and nurse that bottle of water, that glass of wine for the rest of the night. Anyway, she inspired me to write this verse, and I didn't do anything with it until I went back to writing again in 1994. And then I kept trying to write this. It kept popping in my head and wouldn't go away. I had all these different versions of a crazy song. I'm trying to steer it someplace instead of just listening. I wasn't aware at that time that songs just happen the way they happen. You really are supposed to drive. You're supposed to let your muse drive. Anyway, this song was my favorite that came out of that. It's one of my favorite songs that I've ever written for what it taught me about writing in general. There are three different people who this story represents. Three different people in my life and the experiences with three different people that shaped how I wrote the character's life and the narrator's life. And just by how you arrange the verses, you can change a lot about the song. Especially if you change the order of the last two verses from the original version. The last verse is the last verse because I didn't have the idea until 10 years after I wrote the original song. Before that, it only had three verses, and the last song was the answer to what was going on as far as the female character was concerned. But the narrator is also very interesting. Is he or isn't he? You know. He was just a girl, dressed in ragged clothes, hair red and eyes so blue, freckles on her nose. She talked of knights and castles and other fancy things, and said when she was queen, it would be her king. Well, look at you, Annie, dressed up like a queen, like that vision from my every childhood dream. Oh, tell me, Annie, darling, that you remember me. Let me have this day, share your fantasy. Annie, in our teenage years, cast a spell on me, so caught up in her beauty, the truth I could not see. But Annie was a fun to live by for the change. Now the years have left their mark etched on Annie's face. Well, look at you, Annie, dressed up like a queen, like a vision in my every childhood dream. Oh, tell me, Annie, darling, that you remember me. Let me have this time, share your fantasy. Annie looks so puzzled my name again. But a dozen times I've told her I answered just a friend. Did I take her in my arms? Did I kiss her troubled head? Father, stop the music, take her off to bed. Well, look at you, Annie, dressed up like a queen, like a vision by every childhood dream. Well, tell me, Annie, darling, that you remember me. Let me have this dance, show you your fantasy. Annie dances around the floor, her face all aglow. Whom she dances with, only Annie knows. For Annie's all alone when the love comes to blow. Save this one who left his heart from the shadows on the wall. Oh, look at you, Annie, dressed up like a queen, like that vision in my every childhood dream. Oh, tell me, Annie, darling, that you remember me. And let me have this dance, share your fantasy. Kind of makes it maybe the Ghost Dancer, I don't know, but that may be closer to the original inspiration than the way that I have for years done it, which was to play the last two verses in the order that I wrote them, and which would have put the her looking up and asking who he is at the end. And so then he isn't necessarily a ghost if he's that. He's at that point he's a ghost in her mind, you know, a thing in her mind. But he's not necessarily a ghost. It's a memory in her mind. And the question is he actually the? Well, there's so many ways to take it. I'll let you play with it. But if you play with those two verses, you get a very different idea of the song. And I really like this version. I think this is the way it should be done.